Good morning, it's Monday, it's the start of a new week. It's bank holiday. I don't know whether it's bank holiday in Scotland, but it is in England anyway. So I am working today. I like to work the bank holidays, just I can get a couple of jobs caught up with. I've got two 160 high tracks to service today, and they're both reasonably close together. I don't know how many hours they're both on, or I can't remember anyway, so I've grabbed all the filters and I'll just use what I need and take back what I don't use. And there's a couple of little jobs to do on each of them as well. The weather's good today. Sorry about the late video. Friday's video was late. I've had quite a bit going on over the weekend, so I haven't I didn't get it edited till Saturday night, Sunday morning. So I'm sorry it was late, but hopefully this video will go up as usual. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, because it all helps and it makes these videos reach out to a wider audience. And yeah, if you've enjoyed the video, don't forget at the end, hit that like button. So yeah, I'm just pulled off the main road. I'm on the forestry road now. I'm just 2 minutes away from me first digger, and yeah, we'll get this one serviced and on to the next one. First digger then, just coming down off the hill. Once he's down, we'll see where it's best to service, because there might be timber wagons coming in here. There's still a lot of timber about, so I would imagine somewhere up that track there will be out the road. But yeah, it's a nice day, and yeah, hopefully we'll get this one finished for lunchtime. What time is it now? 10:30. Yeah, hopefully we'll get this one finished for lunchtime, get the next one just after lunch, and then that'll be the day put in. Right, so this one is a 3,000 hour service, so fairly big service to be fair. The AdBlue filter, engine breather filter, hydraulic return filter, pilot filter, 2 fuel filters, engine oil filter, final drive oils, slew gearbox. Yeah, there's plenty to do with this. There's also 2 bolts in here snapped, so that'll be fun. They're not Loctited in, so I'm hoping if I take that metal pipe off, there'll be enough. And I can see one stud here. I should be able to get that'll just about, yeah, I can get that out as it is. But the other one, I hope, isn't too flush. But thankfully they're not Loctited in, so I should be able to, with a bit of jiggery pokery and a left-hand drill bit, should be able to just whiz those studs out. And I've got 2 studs on the van that I can replace them with. But yeah, I've got no idea how we managed that. No idea. Never mind. At least he spotted it. So we'll get these final drives lined up. I've got these 4 bolts replaced. Thankfully the stud there that was showing, that just spun out finger tight, and the one that I thought was snapped flush in the hole has actually gone altogether, so I think that one rattled out and then put stress on the rest, and that one snapped off. So yeah, happy days. Everything is as it should be now. So we'll go on to the next one, and I'll probably be able to do that one in more detail. I've been chatting here to the driver all morning, so I think the next one I'll show you a bit more in detail, because it's a while since I've done a detailed service, so we'll have a look at that. But yeah, that's fit to go back to work now. So I'll probably see that machine again in another 8 weeks. Well, no, actually, he said I'll see you in 10 weeks this time, because he's having a week of 10 days off on holiday. But yeah, 8 weeks it takes him to clock up 500 hours on those machines. So yeah, when you do any sort of warranty work, you take a download off the machine. The sort of average runtime for that machine is about 13 or 14 hour days. And so he stays in his caravan on site, so he's up at the crack of dawn and then finishing it probably just after sundown. Crackers. Anyway, yeah, the next job will be about half an hour, 40 minutes away. It's 1 o'clock now, but I'm ravenous, so I'm gonna have my lunch and then head on up there, and that's another 160 to service, and that'll be a few jobs knocked off my list. I'm away next week on holiday, and then the start of the following week I'll be on a 3-day training course. So try and get as much done as I can and try and tick off as many jobs on my list as I can, and then hopefully it makes life easy for whoever's going to cover us while I'm on holiday. Okay. Just after 2:30, I've just made a start service in this 160 Hi-Track, and believe it or not, about 15 minutes in that direction over there you've got Edinburgh, so we're close, but close as close as I would like to be anyway. So yeah, 500 hour service on this 160 Hi-Track. I've always said, and if you go back to any of my other videos, I've probably mentioned it before, I always change the final drive oils every 500 hours, especially with these forestry machines. I find they do a lot of tracking, and it just keeps the oil fresh in there. It keeps me sort of up to date with what's happening in there as well, because if I pull the bottom bung out at 500 hours and I see some metallic material coming out of there, we know we're going to have imminent problems inside there. Keeps the oil fresh in there, keeps everything lubricated as it should be, and touch wood, I haven't had to change a final drive for a long time. Because it wouldn't happen here, it would happen down there in that gully, and it'd be raining and it'd just be a miserable job. I've already drained the engine oil out of it, so it's a Perkins engine, 1204F Perkins engine, around 110, 115 horsepower. And that takes 12 litres of engine oil, so I've drained that out already. Obviously I've got this other side hub draining. I'm just about to change the fuel filter, and yeah, I'll show you. I've mentioned this before in a previous video, but it was quite a long time ago, and perhaps some of the newer viewers that have joined the channel haven't gone back far enough to kind of catch up. So I'll show you the basic principles of how this machine works. So behind here you've got the engine. For all the time that the engine is running, it's turning these pumps here. So you've got 3 pumps in here. First pump is here, which is your front pump, and then you've got the rear pump here, and then you've got the pilot pump. These 2 pumps here are identical, they're twins, or they should be, or you want them to be. So the flow rate and everything of that wants to be identical for proper machine operation. So the hydraulic oil comes through this great big pipe here and feeds the hydraulic pumps, and the pumps create pressure. Well, no, the pumps don't create pressure, pumps create flow. It's the sizes of the holes that the oil has to go through that creates pressure. But anyway, these pumps feed each side of the valve chest with about 110 litres of oil, and the pressure is set by the main relief valve on the valve chest, which for this machine should be around 330 bar. This pump here then is the pilot pump, so it's fed here off the same feed that feeds these pumps. You've got a T-piece that feeds this, so the oil coming in. You've got a fixed displacement, so it's a gear pump. The gears mesh and create pressure, and that runs down this pipe and straight into the pilot filter. So because it's a gear pump and you've got gears meshing all the time, inevitably you're going to have wear on the gears, and you'll get like a very, 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 very fine metallic-y dust. So that's collected by the pilot filter here. So it only runs from there to there before it's filtered. Pilot pump is giving pressure to your joysticks. So your joysticks are running at about 30 bar pressure. And when you move those, they move the spools, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. But that's what's going on in here. You've got pumps, one side of the valve chest, other side of the valve chest, and your joysticks and track levers here. So up top here, you've got the valve chest. So if you look at this here, split it down the middle here, you've got one side of the valve chest and the other side of the valve chest. So your big pumps in the back there is feeding one side and the other side. And then you've got the pilot pump, so you've got oil that's constantly circulating through your joysticks here. And when you pull one of your joysticks back, that is, instead of the oil going through the joysticks and back to the tank, your oil is going through the joystick and to the function that you have selected. So if we use this for an example, you've pulled the dipper arm, in. You'll be sending a pilot oil feed into this spool cap here. You're going to move the spool that way. That is going to allow the pump pressure to come up through and out this outlet here, which is for the dipper arm. So you've got 40 bar pressure moving this spool, which is allowing you 330 bar pressure to go through this pipe here, up the arm to shove that ram out the way. So you're going to be pulling the arm in. So that's how that works. So if you don't select any function, what's happening is the oil is coming to each side of the valve chest. It's coming up and it's coming out of this big pipe here. That big pipe then goes over towards your radiators, through the hydraulic oil cooler, where it then comes back into that pipe there and back into here. Inside here is the hydraulic return filter, which you've seen me change many a time now. That is cleaning the oil as it goes back into the tank, and then once it's drawn out of the tank, under here you've got a suction filter, and that's like a big bucket that sits over the end of the suction pipe, and it allows any large bits of debris to get filtered out, if there is any. Hopefully there isn't, before it goes back through the pumps. So the whole time the engine's running, there's always going to be oil circulating through the machine. So on most of the services on these machines, you've got port relief valves. Port relief valves are protecting that specific part of the circuit. So for example, right now the machine's turned off. If something was to crash into that boom there, to protect the cylinder, to protect the hoses, this port relief valve will lift off its seat, and any oil that's trapped and trying to get away, this port relief valve will allow that oil to drain out and go to the tank. So that's only when the spool is in the neutral position. When the machine's working and you've got a open gallery through into your ram, and you reach the end stroke of the ram, it's the main relief valve that is opening and allowing that spare oil to go away to the tank. So the main relief valve on this machine should be set at about 330 bar. This relief valve here, the port relief valve, is set slightly higher, which is about 360 bar. So you wouldn't normally see this port relief valve opening unless you get a sudden shock load and the system is shut. So in essence, the main relief valve is what's regulating the pressure through the hydraulic system, and it's one main relief valve is setting the pressure for both pumps. So if you make an adjustment, you're setting the pressure to both pumps. But remember, hydraulic pumps create flow, not pressure. Anyway, I hope that wasn't too repetitive to anybody that's already seen the video. Like I say, it was quite a long time ago now. I think it might be around episode 30 or something like that. I'm not too sure, but we're galloping towards 100 episodes now, and I'm aware that a lot of the most recent subscribers have sort of joined us at about episode 70 or so. So you might not have gone all the way back that far. So anyway, I'm just changing the water and fuel filter, the pilot filter, fuel filter, primary fuel filter, and the engine oil filter on this machine today. So that would be what we call a 500-hour service. So what I do is I clamp off the fuel feed from the tank into this filter head and drain the fuel out of the filter because it's less messy, and then we'll separate this filter from the glass bowl, plastic bowl. I've just dropped that. I didn't really didn't want to do that. And the glass bowl gets cleaned and then put onto the new filter. But what I always do as well is just have a look at this filter head here. Like I've shown you in other videos, any fuel restrictions 9 out of 10 times happens in this part here rather than any further back the way. So I'll just always have a quick look on there before I put this new filter in. I've got the pilot filter changed. I'm just on with doing the primary fuel filter. Now this is what the new filter looks like. You can see the colour of that. It's nice and white and clean. And I'll show you the old one here. It's not too uncommon to see the filters looking like that, how grey and discoloured it is. And it just got me thinking, about 3 years ago now, it was the winter time, and we had a lot of these machines sort of struggling to start in the morning. And it was when the amount of vegetable oil, of biofuel, it was when the percentage went up from, I think it was about 5%, I think it went up to about 8 or 9%. And what happened was the fuel, when it got cold, would gel up and it'd create a coating around this filter here, like a jelly coating around the filter, and it wouldn't allow fuel to pass through it. So we got a lot of phone calls, especially in the cold weather, especially forestry machines, because as you can see, and you can well imagine, a cold wind coming up this valley and the machine's parked here, it's almost going to be funneled onto it. The fuel would gel up and it would stop the machine from starting or running properly. And I remember we got to the point where we were using or wrapping cable tying rags around these filters just to try and keep the frost off them a bit. But it just goes to show you how fine these filters are nowadays, that it doesn't even allow a slightly thicker fuel to run through it properly. Right, that's all my filters changed for a 500-hour service. I've just got engine oil to put back in it. We'll give it a run up, put some hub oil in, make sure the pressures are okay, and that'll be the day put in. Just while I'm in here, quite often I get asked by operators, what are these pipes for that are they just sort of come out of this block here and they're blanked off. You'll notice one on this side and one on the other side. These are basically, they make the hydraulic pumps run quieter. I've never seen what they're like without them on, but apparently without them on the pumps run a lot noisier, so they just act as like a deadening, sound deadening. Yeah, that's all I really know about them. They just keep the sound down when it comes to the pumps running. Just science happens and stuff happens and it's okay. So that's the engine oil put in. While I've been up here, I've just been checking the belt pulleys for play, etc., and also the condition of the fan belt. It's all good. There was a comment the other day asking why Doosan didn't have their own engine in these. So the generation previous to this model would be the Dash 3, and that would have a 6-cylinder engine in the 14-tonner, and so that would be a DPF machine, so it would have a diesel particulate filter on it. And then the generation previous to that would be the same engine, just with I don't even think it had EGR. No, it was just an engine running a pump. So they basically modified the 6-cylinder engine to run with a DPF filter, and then when it came to tier 4, with putting AdBlue in, I don't think the 6-cylinder would meet emissions regulations with the AdBlue stuff on, so that's why we've got a Perkins engine in this model, and then the next model up would now have a 4-cylinder Doosan with DOC, DPF and SCR. So I believe it was just down to research and development. They couldn't produce an engine quick enough to meet the emissions regulations. Something along those lines anyway, but that's why we've ended up with a Perkins engine in this machine. And they haven't been too bad for the most part, but yeah, personally for me, I find the diagnostic software for the Doosan side to be a lot more helpful than the Perkins stuff has been. So I did nearly forget, there's one more job that I need to do. I've just seen the box in the van when I'm going to go and put my tools back. This refueling pump here is packed in, so for anybody that doesn't know what the refueling pump does or what it's for, basically when you're out in the middle of nowhere here, quite often these forestry contractors will have their own sort of fuel bowser. And instead of the bowser having a pump to refill the diesel, the machine has a pump to refill the diesel. So you just drop the pipe into the tank and it draws the fuel up the pipe into the tank here. And then it's actually clever enough, so when the tank's full, it'll knock that refueling pump off automatically, or it should do anyway. But anyway, it's packed in, so I'm just going to replace it with a new one. Right, I finished that digger. That's the end of my day now. It's 4:45. I've got about an hour and a half to get back down the road. So we'll just be back after 6 o'clock, I reckon. So yeah, we'll leave it at that for today. Not sure what's happening tomorrow yet. I was going to try and do that air conditioning job that we were at last Tuesday with the air conditioning compressor. That day that we had a bad day. But the customers wanted to just finish up a job that he's on with, and it should be available sort of back end of the week. So I've got that grey cloud hanging over me for the rest of the week. God, I'm filthy, look. So yeah, I think Thursday or Friday we'll be on with that, so I'm not actually sure what I'll do tomorrow, but that does mean that I might have a little bit of time to give this fan a right good wash, because it is absolutely filthy. The windscreen is disgusting. So that'll be tomorrow's priority. In the morning, into work, give the van a right good wash. Right, I'll leave it up for today then. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. If you've enjoyed the video, even if you haven't, give it a like. And yeah, for more bits and pieces throughout the week, head over to Dally's Digger Diary over on Instagram and YouTube. And if you've got any questions or anything you'd like to know, just leave it down in the comments, and I'll try a bit harder now to try and respond to each and every one of you. Right, have a good evening. Hope you've had a good bank holiday. Hope you've had a good weekend. See you tomorrow.